Dear students, we can see the second part of New Historicism. Here we can see the application of New Historicism to the study of Shakespearean plays. Stephen Greenblatt provides an example of a new historicist analysis of Shakespeare's play Richard II, which was staged in 1597. The key abdication scene was removed in its original performance during the time of Shakespeare himself, during the age of Queen Elizabeth I. So we can see similarities between the characters of the aged Richard II and Queen Elizabeth I. Though there was a gap of nearly 175 years. Nearly 175 years. So this proves that history repeats itself. And the abdication scene might provoke the audience to a rebellion, and that's why the directors of playhouses were advised not to show the abdication scene in which King Richard II loses his crown. So that is removed. That was removed from the play when it was staged, during the age of Elizabeth I, Queen Elizabeth I. And because there was a fear of rivalry to the throne of England. So there was such a suspicion that Queen Elizabeth I had her own rivals to the throne. So there was a threat to her, threat to the throne of England. The same situation prevailed during the age of King Richard II. He lost his crown to King Henry IV, Bolingbroke of Lancaster. Later he became King Henry IV. So the same situation prevailed during the age of Elizabeth I. Actually, 5 years later, Robert the Earl of Essex, paid Shakespeare's company a large amount of money to perform the play with the abdication scene on a particular night, because the Earl was planning a rebellion against Queen Elizabeth I to seize her throne. And so he thought the abdication scene in King Richard II, in the play of King Richard II, would provoke the audience to a rebellion. And so the Earl of Essex planned that his plan would be successful if the scene was played the previous night at the Shakespeare's theatre. And the rebellion failed, and the Queen herself commissioned Shakespeare's company, asked Shakespeare's company to perform Richard II the night before the Earl of Essex's execution for treason. Harold Aram Weezer considered great works of literature and text. Here, text refer to all the other texts other than literature. They should be treated equally. Literary text and the non-literary text should be treated equally according to Harold Aram Weezer. So, new historicism can make a concerted effort to remove elitism from literary criticism. Already we saw it in the first part that literary text is no way superior to the non-literary text. So it doesn't enjoy any, it should not be given any privileged position. New historicist approach to literature can be considered a comparative study of literary and non-literary texts. So now we can take the civil war at Shrewsbury, and it was fought by King Henry IV and Hotspur, the Percys. So the play written by Shakespeare, King Henry IV Part 1, can be compared with the historical article called titled Like Apples Fallen in Autumn, the Battle of Shrewsbury. So that is the title of the historical article, and it was published in warfarehistorynetwork.com in February 2008 by A.I. Hemingway. So we can see similarities and dissimilarities between these two texts, literary and non-literary texts. King Henry IV refused to ransom Mortimer, who was imprisoned by the Welsh leader Owen Glendower. So we are seeing the similarities. Both are the same. The same incident is found in the historical as well as non-historical, literary and non-literary texts. And Mortimer's nephew, the Earl of March, had more claim to the throne. He had a better claim to the throne than King Henry IV. And the Percys of Northumberland believed that the Hotspur also, the son of the Earl of Northumberland, is called a Hotspur because of his speed in the war, because of his nobility and greatness in the war. A very great warrior. And so he is given the title Hotspur. And he also had equal claim to the throne. And the king makes a demand in the play for the prisoners of Homildon Hill. But Hotspur refused to surrender the prisoners he took from the war. And we can find some dissimilarities also between these two texts, literary and non-literary texts. So it is about the account of war given in both the texts. As per the historical article, the infuriated king, the angry king, called Hotspur a traitor and struck him on his face. The enraged Hotspur, the furious Hotspur, shouted at the king, "Not here, but in the field." Hotspur was struck by an arrow on his face when he lifted the visor of his helmet for taking breath air or to have a better view of the battlefield. That is how he died in the war. He was killed in the war. So in the historical article, it's not mentioned who killed him. He was struck by an arrow on his face and he died. His body was buried by his cousin. But there was a rumor that he was alive. When it reached the king, King Henry IV, he got the body of Hotspur dug up and had his remains exhumed and strung between two millstones just outside the gates of Shrewsbury. So that is how King Henry IV reacted to the rumor. He unearthed the body and strung the body between two millstones outside the gates of Shrewsbury for everyone to view. Then the corpse was beheaded and quartered. It was butchered with the parts scattered through the country. So his body, the parts of his body were scattered all through the country. That is how the King Henry IV wanted to prove, wanted to confirm the death of Hotspur to silence the rebels. Hotspur's gory head was put on display in York when his father was summoned to receive his pardon from Henry IV. He was no doubt horrified at the sight of his son's head publicly displayed for all to see. The history is presented differently by Shakespeare in Henry IV, Part 1. His love for the British history and his own kings would have impelled him to make the English kings just and noble. The Prince of Wales kills Hotspur in the war in a duel. He is magnanimous enough to acknowledge Hotspur's greatness. He says, "Fare thee well, great heart. Adieu, and take thy prize with thee to heaven." The gory incidents found in the historical article have no place in Shakespeare's plays. The kings of England, Henry IV and Henry V, are portrayed as majestic, human, just, and fair in their dealings. They stay in the memory of Shakespeare's admirers as noble and virtuous gentlemen, as paragon of manliness and heroism. In the historical text, they are presented as powermongers. So we have seen Shakespeare's Henry IV, Part 1, through the eyes of Shakespeare. And we can see the love of Shakespeare for his country and for his kings. And he has created a noble picture of his own kings in his plays. And he has immortalized them. I hope you have understood the new historicist analysis of Shakespeare's play titled Henry IV, Part 1. I hope you would have understood it. And because of time constraint, I cannot apply the new historicism to other plays of Shakespeare, especially the history plays of Shakespeare. So we can view the play from a different perspective. Thank you. I wish you a very good day.